Yo, guys. PJ Cruikshank in the house again, and we are not live. We are recording. Yeah, I suppose because I'm not on today and I'm up now after having a little bit of sleep, I thought I'd do a recording for you. I did one the other day on like 80s nostalgia, like products that failed from the 80s. And some of them products were perfect. They hadn't failed, but it was good to take a trip down and nostalgia lane again. You know what I mean? So again, I've come across a channel. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is called British Time Capsule. And if you look at it, it's only literally like joined 10th of May, 2025, and he's already got 4.66k subs. He joined this month literally, and he's got nearly 5k subs. That's amazing, unbelievable. But there's only a few videos in it, as you can see, and it ranges from 80s to 60s stuff. Like we're doing today. They're only 12-minute videos, so I want it to be like an hour video. So I'm reacting to it. So we're going to do this one here, 10 things we missed from the 80s in Great Britain, and then this one here, 10 things you'll remember if you went to school in the 80s in the UK, which I did. So it's a trip down nostalgia lane for me again. So this, the one I did the other day was before America. This one is UK. So it should resonate a bit more, this one. So that's what we're going to do, this one. But I'll put the link in the description for MD wants to sub to it because it seems quite interesting. Like I say, there's only 6 videos so far, which, I mean, some of them go to the 70s and 60s. My mum was obviously born in the 50s. She'll remember the 60s and 70s. I was born in 76, so I'm not going to remember the 60s, but a little bit of the 70s. So I might react to the 60s and 70s one at some point, just for the sake of it, you know. But I certainly had to do the 80s ones, and there's 2 80s ones here. So we're going to do them first too, sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do now. I'll just start playing them. We'll start with this one here, 10 things we miss from the 80s in Great Britain. And then I'll go into that one. Got them, like I said, I'll put the description. I'll put the link in the description. Give the guy a view. If you want, guys, you know what I mean? Sub to him, whatever. Seems like an interesting channel. But yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it now. So let's get that out of the way. And we'll get on with it. Let's get the first one in. I've downloaded them, so let's do this one. 10 things we miss from 80s in Great Britain. Let's do it.
Before you even opened the door.
Sorry, a little lower. Put it down.
Plastic wheels screeching on pavement. CFAX.
Oh, CFAX straight away, man. Oh, sorry, I had to stop there straight away. CFAX. Well, I don't know if you had that in America. It's just to say, I suppose it's the closest you got to the internet in the 80s. It was just a certain thing you pressed on your remote control on your TV, and it would take it from the picture channel to an index where you got all the latest headlines, news, weather, stuff like that, things, listings that's on TV, latest news, all that kind of stuff. Horse race results, dog results, football results, sports results, all that kind of thing. As you can see there from the headlines, I'll take my picture away for a second. You can see AZ Index, BBC Info, Chess, Community, BBC Two, Entertainment. And this is what we pay TV license for, is BBC. Look at the date in that, 5th of October. Oh, it doesn't tell us the year there. But yeah, CFAX. I mean, CFAX was going about even into the 2000s, I think. Certainly don't see it now. Certainly don't see it now because that was on analog. Anyway, I better get started.
Buzzing on the telly and the clink of milk bottles at dawn. None of it's here anymore.
Clinking milk bottles at dawn. That would have been me when I was 14. I was a milk boy. Very first job when I was 14. I was a milk boy, and we went around all the little villages and sort of like towns as well. I would be up at 3 in the morning No, I had to start at 3 in the morning. We was going for about, sorry, I got up about 3, started at 3:30. We'd go until about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I'd be in school by 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish, 8:45. We were meant to have school permits to go and work, but we never got one because if they didn't like you, you wouldn't get it. As simple as that. So I just went and worked anyway. And then when we got to our street, my dad would keep the door open and I'd bring some milk into him. We got our milk free. I'd bring like a load of milk so we didn't have to buy it, which was a handy thing. And look, I just noticed behind the guy there, for all the British people will know, a Ford Fiesta F-Reg. Behind the guy who's carrying the milk crate there, just so you notice it. F9, so it's an F-Reg. Which year was that? 84 maybe? Let me just check. What year was F-Reg? 1989, 88 and 89. The F-Reg was 88, 89. So I was 13, 12 and 13 then. Wow, that brings back memories. Anyway, I haven't even got started in this video. I've got 2 videos to do, so let's carry on.
But if you grew up in Britain in the 80s, every one of these memories is burned into your bones. We dug up 20 things we truly miss from that wild, colourful, unforgettable decade. And warning...
Ooh, 20 things from the 80s. I mean, the one I did yesterday was 25 things, but that was called, the channel was at America before. So like that was some of the products and that might have been more American. I didn't recognize some of them, but a lot of them I did, obviously. So this is mainly British kind of 80s. So let's have a look. There's the River Thames over the London Bridge, under the London Bridge.
Some of them might hit you right in the nostalgia. Before
might hit you right in the nostalgia.
Smartphones, before PlayStations, there was the ZX Spectrum.
He's British and he says the ZX Spectrum. I wonder if he's saying that just for if it could be AI saying it, but it's an English dude by the sound of it, and he's saying ZX Spectrum. We should be saying ZX. Where we're from in the UK, we say ZX. Even in Scotland, we say Z. We don't say Z. Even though Z is the sound, we still say Z for some reason. So it's ZX Spectrum. And the ZX Spectrum is the first ever computer I would have seen, and that would have been in my primary school. And it had rubber buttons, and that's the exact one. In the video the other day, it mentioned ZX Spectrum, but it didn't show us the picture, an image of it. And now that's an image of a ZX Spectrum with rubber keys. I remember it because it even had its own monitor with a long square tube with a long back on it, with long sides and back. It was sort of, and it was like a little portable TV, black and white TV, except it was colour, but it looked like a black and white TV. But it was long at the sides. And I remember it was just that, like a screen full of colours and stuff. You couldn't do much on it, but at the time in the 80s, and when you had that when you were at school, it looked amazing.
Rubber-keyed marvel that turned British living rooms into pixelated battlegrounds. Released in 1982 by Sinclair Research, it wasn't just a computer, it was a rite of passage. Kids learned to code.
There you go. I mean, I've literally played that game. I don't even know what it's called. It's like it's a little bit like Donkey Kong. I mean, it's probably the cheap version of Donkey Kong. This one. I mean, is it actually? I don't think it's Donkey Kong. It's not. No, cheaper version of Donkey Kong. But these platform games, loved them when I was younger. And look at them now. The graphics are terrible. But we loved them when we were kids. This was like, wow, look at that. We can move something on a screen. We can control the TV. We can control people in the TV. It was so good. So good.
Load games from cassette tapes and type commands like load while praying it wouldn't crash halfway through.
And exactly. I said this on the other video. You used to have the ZX Spectrum, Acorn Electron, Acorn BBC, Commodore 64. They all loaded up with a tape deck. And if it got a little glitch or the tape paused or something, or it went at the wrong speed, it would not load up properly. You'd have to rewind it and start again. And it'd take anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, something like that. And if you had left the sound up, it was just like the dial-up internet when you used to lift up the phone and hear it. A bit like that. Madness.
It sold over 5 million units and introduced a generation to games like
That was the Acorn BBC there. That was a different one.
Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy.
Manic Miner.
For
Manic Miner. That was that game we was just playing there because it dug as well with a pickaxe. That's what it was. And you can see the Sinclair ZX Spectrum in the background. 120 for 125 from 175. Wow, that's a lot in the 80s, and that was probably on sale there.
many in Great Britain, it was the first time technology felt personal and noisy and painfully slow. But no one cared. It made you feel like the future had arrived.
Very slow, but he's right. Nobody cared because it made you feel like the future arrived. It was like something, look at that, 128K, not even a megabyte. Not even a meg.
Even if it came with loading screens that took 10 minutes. In the kitchens of 80s Britain, the soda stream was practically...
Soda stream. Wow, you must have got that in the States. Soda stream. My granny used to make us this. Now, my granny was always good for bottles of juice. She always bought loads of bottle of fizzy juice, carbonated juice, whatever you want to call it. England, it's fizzy pop. America, soda pop. Where I'm from, it's just fizzy juice in Scotland. Just a can of juice, fizzy juice, or a can of ginger, whatever. But yeah, my granny used to make her own when this first came out. She got one. My uncle Terry, her son, bought her one, I think, and yeah, it was used to the max. She bought all these flavors, used it to give all our grandkids soda streams, and when it run out of flavors, just for a laugh, she'd make until she got more flavors the same day or whatever, or later on the next day through the week or whatever. She'd make carbonated water just so we could drink fizzy water just to have a laugh. It was good. That's a trip down nostalgia lane, that one. Soda stream.
a badge of honor. With a satisfying hiss, it turned boring
Isa, refresh your head.
tap water into fizzy magic. Kids loved mixing their own cola or orange flavors, often way too strong, while parents...
Just in case anybody doesn't know, yeah, Soda Stream, maybe younger ones or whatever, not that I get a lot of younger viewers, there's none of my viewers under 25. But yeah, Soda Stream was just this thing where you got, what's the gas you got with it? Soda Stream gas, what the hell's the gas called? Not blooming hell. Sorry, Soda Stream gas cylinders. Yeah, what is the gas that's in it? Two secs. CO2, of course. CO2, bloody hell. What an umpty. Why didn't I even just think of that? CO2. For soda, you'll need, so it says, for your soda stream to run efficiently and give your drinks the fizz, you'll need CO2 for soda stream. Of course. Totally forgot. Carbon dioxide, CO2, of course. Carbon dioxide. I totally forgot the gas. Yeah, so as soon as I seen that it was CO2, it's carbon dioxide. So yeah, so that's what it is. You used to get this syrup stuff, and you'd put it in the bottom of a bottle, and then you stick it in your soda stream, with it had a gas canister on the back, close it down, press the button, and you go and make your syrupy juice into fizzy juice. Fantastic.
hoped it would save money on canned drinks. It wasn't just a gadget, it was a mini science lab on the countertop. Get busy with the fizzy wasn't just a slogan, it was a challenge.
I suppose it did feel like that, like a mini science lab, you know what I mean? You're sticking in a gas bottle and then a bit of liquid in there, you're putting it into a machine, you're squishing it up, and it's something that's turned into something else. So you think you're sciencing it. I get where the guy's coming from. That's cool.
Before smartphones and weekend lie-ins, many British kids had a paper round. Waking up before 6 a.m, rain or shine, to deliver newspapers door to door.
And the paper round just so happened to be my second job. Most people, when I was a kid, used to have a paper round first and then a milk round. I had a milk round, then a paper round. So I had the best job first and then I went down a step. But yeah, I used to like do my paper round as well. So you'd be up early in the morning, blasting around your bike and seeing everything going on or nothing going on before people got up. You know what I mean? It was good. It's good. I liked it. I loved having a job when I was a kid. Could be a pain, obviously, like normal jobs, but it gave you a sense of, oh, I'm doing something. I'm growing up.
Was a rite of responsibility and a source of pocket money. It taught discipline, grit, and
Pocket money, yeah. Right, on the milk, when I was 14, which would have been 1989, well, 1990, I turned 14. So 1990, I was on the milk. Yeah, my pay was £7.50 a week. Nothing, absolutely nothing. But my tips I made was probably about £40 a week. So I made more in tips. But when I went to do a paper round, it was just the wages were just £10 a week with a few tips here and there. So I made a lot more in the milk. Because in the Christmas time at milk, because people were generous, the people will leave a bottle of beer on the steps for you. Obviously, I went to the driver. We were too young. But some people nicked it, obviously. Not me. But sometimes you'd get some tips at Christmas on the milk and you'd get a couple of £100. And at 14-year-old, that was a lot. That was a lot, you know. But when it came to the paper rounds, no, not so much. Not for us, anyway.
the value of a crisp £5 note. Back then, news wasn't digital, and every street had someone cycling with a heavy canvas bag. For many, it was their first.
That's true. And it's weird because I haven't thought about it for years, but you just don't see people going about with on their bicycles anymore doing a paper round because maybe they just don't. I mean, newspapers, you get a free metro, you can go on the bus and pick up. News agents, just pick up if you're going past. So I suppose with everything being online, it's right at your fingertips. Yeah, I suppose there's still delivery boys out there, but paper boys out there, but you just don't see it as often.
First job, and the quiet streets of dawn still hold the echoes of rattling letterboxes. When Michael Knight hit British screens in the mid-80s, everything changed. Knight Rider wasn't.
So, not just the UK fans will know this. Obviously, the American fans will know this. Come on. David Hasselhoff, Michael Knight with KIT. KIT, which meant Knight's International Technology or something like that. Or Knight's Integrated Technology. Don't know. But Devin Knight, Michael Knight, used to be Michael Long. Got plastic surgery because he was a copper. And then went undercover with KIT. Became Michael Knight. Everybody loved Knight Rider. Everybody. And do you know my favorite episodes is when KIT's enemy Car, the original KIT, which was called Car, the evil KIT, came in it. I love that. There was about 2 or 3 episodes, I think, when Car came in. It was like the evil version of KIT. Fantastic. Used to love Knight Rider. Then they brought it out again in the 2000s, early 2000s, with a Mustang, with a Ford Mustang, I think it was. Not as good. I think it was meant to be son, Michael Knight's son. I don't know. But it was a Ford Mustang instead of a Trans Am. And it wasn't as good. It wasn't as good.
Just another import. It was must-watch television, and Kite, the talking car, became an instant icon.
Kite? I'm wondering if this is AI or is it actually a British guy? Because he said Z, he said Z for Z, and now he's saying kite when it's actually kit. Which I'm not sure if it's 1 T or 2 T's, but it's still kit. It would never pronounce kite, whether it's 1 T or 2 T's.
Every kid wanted one, and every commercial break felt like an eternity. Aired on ITV.
Turbo Pursuit Mode, was it? Oh no, Auto Pursuit Mode, then there was Turbo Boost. Turbo Boost and Auto Pursuit Mode.
It combined action, tech, and slick American cool in a way that stood out from anything else on telly. Friday nights felt electric, and playgrounds buzzed with talk about the latest episode. If you could bring back just one show from the 80s, would it be this one?
One show from the 80s. I don't know. I mean, definitely Knight Rider would be one of them. A-Team, probably. At the time, we loved it. Airwolf, Blue Thunder, Street Hawk, Automan, things like that. All of the vehicle, kind of futuristic vehicle type things, or talking vehicles, or technologied up vehicles. Absolutely, man. But yeah, Knight Rider would be one of them, but not like Knight Rider 2000. That wasn't so good.
Cheap, cheerful and unforgettable, mini milk ice creams were a staple of British childhood in the 80s. For just a few pence,
Oh, right. When he showed it in the cup, I didn't recognize it. This is literally what Vicky buys for the dog, for Minnie. Vicky gets these for the dog, Mini Milks, and holds them, and Minnie will eat it. Just lick it, lick it, lick it until it's off the stick. You know what I mean? Lick it. You have to hold it further. Put it on the floor. She doesn't really eat. She will, but she'll more or less let it melt. But if you hold it for her, she'll eat it. Vicky buys these for the dog. But of course, I remember him as a kid.
you got a creamy, milky treat that somehow felt both simple and perfect. No chocolate coating, no gimmicks, just frozen nostalgia on a stick. They came in
Frozen nostalgia on a stick. I love it.
strawberry, vanilla and chocolate, and they melted faster than you could eat them. Every corner shop freezer had them, and every summer memory seemed to include one.
That's how I remember them looking. Exactly like that. Exactly like that. That's exactly how I remember them looking like. But yeah, they're all in a box now. That was individually. Now they're in a multi-pack box now. Which you get strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, maybe banana. I think that's it.
Before Spotify and Bluetooth, the Sony Walkman was the height of cool in 80s.
This was on the video the other day, the one I did the other day. And it said that this was a failure. This was one of the failures. And I'm like, Sony Walkman was a big success. I mean, yes, after the 80s and into the mid-90s, they started personal stereos, we called them, tape things, personal tape deck, personal stereo, with your earphones on, Walkmans, whatever you want to call them. But Walkman was just a brand from Sony, wasn't it? So we really called them personal stereos. I had the cheaper version, like a Philips or something. Loved it anyway, loved it. But yeah, once it got to the mid-90s, yes, they started turning into like CDs, CD players and tape decks. But even they had a Sony Walkman CD player, and then Sony Walkman carried on into the 2000s onto Sony Ericsson phones, a Sony Ericsson Walkman phone, basically. So it was a Sony Walkman phone, MP3 player, MP4 players as well. So I don't think they were a failure at all. I think they're a big success. Yes, they slowed down for a bit, but they lived on. Big success, I think.
80s Britain. It gave you the power to carry music in your pocket with chunky headphones and that satisfying click of a cassette door. Suddenly the world had a soundtrack.
Now that's true. That's true. You put your tape in, click, then clunk, shut it, and it was a thing. It's like your fingers needing a cigarette for a smoke because it doesn't know what to do. A cigarette in that. Like the Sony Walkman give you that feeling. Yeah, clink, clock. Absolutely, I get that.
And it was yours. Tapes wore out, batteries drained fast, and you'd use a pencil to rewind them.
Batteries were the worst. That's the thing. You play it for a full day, you wouldn't get a full day out of it. I remember to the point where your batteries were down, and because your music would start slowing down. Not going down, but slowing down. Yeah, that's how when your batteries were going. And then people started buying rechargeable batteries. But rechargeables, yes, fine, you could recharge them. But they still went down just as quick as the normal ones, and you had to charge them. So you had to wait anyway. But handy.
But none of that mattered. Wearing a Walkman felt like freedom, even if your tape only had 9 songs. In the 80s, nearly every British neighbourhood had a greengrocer, often run by the same family for decades. Before the rise of supermarkets, this was where you got your apples weighed on metal scales, your spuds in paper bags, and a smile.
And it's not often, but you still see metal scales and that in grocers and vegetable stalls and stuff. We don't see it as much anymore. I mean, there's a big Asian community out here in Coventry and that, so you see a lot of stalls out front doing fruit and veg. And some of them have still got old metal scales. I suppose they're more trusted. Don't know. But yeah, I suppose you don't see them as much commercially anymore, but you still see the metal scales. Obviously, you see the digitals, but yeah, they're still about.
with your change. They knew your name, your mum's usual order, and the exact type of tomato.
Some people just don't like the change. I mean, I didn't. When it went from tapes to CD, I didn't like the change. And then when it went from CD to digital or CD to mini disc, didn't like the change. When it went from mini disc to digital MP3s, didn't like the change. I still like tape. If I had a hi-fi and a load of tape, I'd still play them. It just so happened that happened. I never kept anything throughout my life, really. I've been from one house to the next, one place to the next, so I've never actually managed to accumulate anything because I've never had anywhere to store it, really. Not anywhere like secure and safe and permanent, you know what I mean? So I could keep stuff and store stuff from the past.
Tomatoes she liked.
I just seen the forklift. That was pretty much like the forklift I learned to drive on.
It wasn't just shopping, it was community. And it's one of those everyday rituals that quietly disappeared. There was no streaming, no pause button, and no second chances. If you missed
Well, you had a pause button on your VCR, you did, but not on other things, I suppose.
Saturday morning cartoons, you missed them. British kids in the 80s would wake up early, bowl of cereal in hand, to catch shows like The Raccoons, Dungeons and Dragons, and He-Man. For a few sacred
Yeah, I remember the Raccoons. I wouldn't have watched Dungeons and Dragons. Certainly He-Man.
hours, telly belonged entirely to kids. It felt like a weekly holiday with flashing colours.
Is that Wonder Woman with Dungeons and Dragons, or is that just someone that looks like Wonder Woman? I don't know. I was never into Dungeons and Dragons. I do remember this cartoon, but nah, not for me. D&D, not for me.
Over-the-top intros, and characters that lived rent-free in your imagination all week long. Long before the internet, CFAX and teletext were Britain's.
Here it is, CFAX and Deltics. This is what I was talking about. You just click the button on your remote control, your doofa, as I'd call it, or you'd call it telebox, whatever. I'd call it doofa. You just pressed it on there. You got the latest sport, latest news, and it would give you an index with the number. You type in the number, or you had presets, like you had a green, a red, a blue, and a yellow button. They were presets for certain options on there, and it'd give you the news of the day, weather, sport, highlights, headlines. You know the score. You know the one.
Window to instant news, football scores, weather, and even quizzes, all on your TV screen. Launched by the BBC in the 70s, but thriving in the 80s, they looked like something out of a sci-fi comic. Blocky text, neon colours, and page numbers you had to type in. It was slow, clunky.
Like I just explained. Sorry, the word wouldn't come out there.
And completely addictive. Page 302.
I think if I remember rightly, if I typed in 182, that was the puzzle page, Bamboozle, I think. Either 182 or 187, typed in that, and it was Bamboozle. And I used to love doing the Bamboozle. It was puzzles, questions, trivia, stuff like that.
For football. Page 101 for headlines. Everyone had their favourites, and somehow it felt like magic that it worked at all.
I'm going back. I was trying to pause on that. Right, I'm trying to pause on it so I could see if it showed me Bamboozle at that point. No. See, as well, you had different, like you could turn it to BBC One, say the first channel, and press on your CFAX, and it'd have a load of information. But then to get to other pages, you'd have to go to your BBC Two or ITV to get different pages. Mad thing. It's mad because I can't even remember when it really died out. It must have died out with kind of like analog TV, and that was 2011. But CFAX probably died out a bit before that. But 2011 is when it went completely digital, and we couldn't use analog anymore for TV reception. So yeah, CFAX, bring back memories. Brings back memories.
Felt like magic that it worked at all. No fashion trend screamed 80s.
Shell suits. Wow. Shell suits. I wonder if you had them in the States. I mean, what the guy with the cigarette in his mouth is wearing is a tracksuit. That's not a shell suit. But the one that's giving him a light, that looks like a shell suit to me. That looks like a shell suit. Where, like, or maybe it's a jacket. But that's not, it doesn't look like a shell suit he's wearing. Shell suits wearing that color. I mean, I had a black one with green, like in like a mauve kind of color and that, yeah. Loved them. But the thing is, if you smoked or anything and you dropped a cigarette, it would just melt straight away because of the kind of, I think it's a nylon material. It's what kind of material can I call it? When I think of shell suits, can't remember the material. It's either it's nylon of some sort, I think. Nylon. It's synthetic anyway, you know. But I'm trying to think of what else has got the same feel as it, the same texture, same material. Anyway, I'll play it. You maybe see better examples.
Britain,
But they would melt with heat, no problem. Just simple. And nugget burn. Whoop, that was it. Burnt. Hot rock straight through.
louder than the shell suit. Made from shiny, swishy material.
There you go. It's shiny. There's the stuff. There's the stuff. Looks like a tracksuit, but made with shinier, glossier stuff. You know what I mean? Probably nylon of some sort. I don't know. But there you go. That's what they look like. They're the girl ones, and they were cool. They were cool, very colourful. You know what I mean? But certainly a late 80s, early 90s thing. I remember having two shell suits and loving them. Wearing a bum bag with it around the middle. You'd probably call it a fanny pack in the States. But yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Material in clashing neon colours. It was part tracksuit, part statement, and entirely unforgettable. Worn by kids, teens, and even the occasional gran, it became a staple from high streets to school discos. They weren't breathable.
Even the occasional gran. My gran never wore them, that's for sure. Well, that white one with the purple trousers, I literally remember that one. I remember seeing them, but look how dear that is. $89.99. $89.99 back in the 80s. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. My one was probably a 20 quid one, a cheap version. But I loved it. I loved it because I thought I didn't have a brand name one. It didn't have Nike on it. It didn't have Adidas. You know, I had something. It was something else. But I liked it because it was my only hit. Well, my first ever shell suit, and it was black. It wasn't as loud as everybody else, but I had a few loud colours on it. But it was mainly black. Loved it.
They weren't subtle, but they were everywhere. Matching top and bottoms were non-negotiable, and the louder the pattern, the cooler you looked, at least back then. Every morning in 80s, Britain you could hear the familiar clink of glass milk bottles as the milkman made his rounds. Left on the doorstep before sunrise, with silver, red or gold foil tops, they were a comforting start.
Read it at the start, but F-Bridge, Ford Fiesta. All the Brits will know that one if you were alive in the 80s.
To the day. It wasn't just about milk. It was part of the rhythm of life. Even the birds knew when to peck through the foil. And returning...
I mean, houses still look the same as that. Pebble dash walls, red brick walls out front for council houses. Obviously, the cars have changed. In the milk cart I was on a Ford Transit flatback. Was never on a battery because that'll probably be a battery powered cart of some sort. But no, I was always in a diesel Ford Transit flatbed.
The empties felt like a small, satisfying ritual that kept the world in order. British telly in the 80s wasn't just about the shows, it was the ads that stuck with you. Catchy jingles from brands like Bird's Eye, Milky Way or Rally Bikes became part of the national...
Beautiful. Oh, wow. The red car and the blue car had a race. All I'd want to do is stuff his face. He eats everything he sees, from trucks to prickly trees. But smart old blue, he took the Milky Way. That just came back to me when I seen this ad. That's literally this ad I sang. Oh, it took a minute to remember some of the words though.
national soundtrack. Some were so memorable you'd sing them at school without
That's LWT, London Weekend Television.
realizing. They were short, bold, and weirdly brilliant. You can probably still hum a few today.
At one point, it was just LW then, London Weekend. They didn't add the T.
Even if you haven't heard them in decades. Which jingle from the 80s is still stuck in your head today? In the 80s, Britain, no magazine captured pop culture quite like smash hits.
Smash hits, yeah, definitely a UK thing. Smash hits had all the pop stars of the time. I never bought it. I always see it was always the girls that bought smash hits. When I was in primary school, first parts of secondary school, it was always girls that bought smash hits. But the guys would read it. If you're like my cousin, she was a girl, Vicky. She was a girl, so she always had smash hits. But if it was there, I'd flick through it. I wouldn't read the stories, and I'd look at the pictures of the pop stars and stuff. There you go. Who's on the front there? Paul Young, Thompson Twins, Van Halen, Kajagoogoo, and Depeche Mode. I think everybody knows them. The Americans might not have heard of Kajagoogoo. Maybe not the Thompson Twins. Maybe not Paul Young, but certainly Van Halen, obviously, and Depeche Mode. Nah, of course they got to hear Paul Young, of course. And the Thompson Twins, but maybe not Kajagoogoo.
Packed with glossy posters, cheeky interviews, and full song lyrics, it was
NKOTB, New Kids on the Block, Hysteria. Hanging tough. Hanging tough. Are you tough enough?
was a must-have for every music-obsessed teen. It didn't just report on pop stars.
Wow. Adamant, Bananarama, Spanda Ballet, and Wham. Oh, we know what Wham did, George Michael. Yes, you got whammed. Certainly did. In a public lavatory.
It made them larger than life.
There he
From
is.
Boy George to Wham,
Was.
it gave fans a voice
There he is.
and a connection. Reading smash hits felt like being part of a secret club,
Ozzy.
one where sarcasm and silliness were just as important as music. Before electronic superstores took over, there was Rumbelows. In 80s, Britain, it was the place to rent or buy TVs, VCRs, and washing machines.
Where I was from, I can't remember Rumbelows. But my mum, I remember like Rumbelows, like my mum and that talking about Rumbelows, but I don't remember Rumbelows where I was from. I'd heard of them. Ours was Radio Rentals. We just rented from Radio Rentals. Back in the day, we didn't own our TVs. We rented them. We rented them from Radio Rentals. Yeah, because Radio Rental became rhyming slang for mental. Oh, he's Radio Rental, man. Can't remember Rumbelows personally, but I remember hearing about Rumbelows.
If your telly broke, chances are you got your replacement from there, delivered and installed by someone who knew your postcode by heart. It wasn't glamorous, but it was dependable. Rumbelows was part of the high street fabric until it quietly vanished in the 90s, taking a piece of everyday life with it. During the summers of 80s, Britain, the Radio 1 Roadshow turned
Radio 1 Rob Show. Yeah, very common, very common. Not something I followed. I used to listen to the charts on Radio 1 I think it was the weekend on a Sunday. You'd get the charts, which was 100 or the top 40 maybe. Can't remember if it was 100 to 1 or top 40 to 1. And then you'd find out on a Sunday which song was number one for that week again. But I didn't really follow the road shows.
seaside towns into live music hotspots. With DJs like Simon Mayo and Steve Wright, it brought the energy of national radio
Simon Mayo's a big name in Radio 1.
straight to the beat.
Radio 1 would probably be owned by BBC.
Complete with giveaways, live bands, and crowds singing along in the sun. It wasn't just a broadcast, it was an event. Families planned holidays around it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the road shows were an event. It's just not something I took part in, or my family took part in.
And for many kids, it was their first live music experience. The roadshow made radio feel alive, local, and loud. British school lunches in the 80s were hit or miss, but the puddings were legendary. From jam.
That's true. That's pretty true. I remember being in primary school, and on a Friday, I'd love Friday because we'd got a square of fish, and it had breadcrumbs on it, and I liked that. to do certain other parts of weeks, it seemed a bit steamed, a bit too soggy and that, but not too bad. I can't say too much for my school dinners were too bad because I really they weren't that bad. I mean, nothing like prison food. But yeah, the puddings were always great. Puddings were always great. Always a selection. We got something different every day, not same crap every day.
Ham roly-poly with custard to cornflake tart and chocolate sponge with pink sauce. These desserts were
Pink sauce. Well, it was custard. Like you get your normal custard. Oh, sorry, wrong one. You get your normal custard, and then you get chocolate custard and pink custard and that strawberry custard. Yeah. So you could get your normal custard over the top of any sponges, tarts, whatever. But some people go mad and have a bit. Well, mind you, you sometimes didn't get a choice. Sometimes it was certain days, it was certain ones. But I mean, pink custard and chocolate custard was strawberry. And chocolate custard is an acquired taste, I suppose. Normal custard better.
sweet, heavy, and totally unforgettable. They weren't gourmet, but they were comforting. Everyone had a favourite, and even decades later, just hearing the name brings back memories of Formica tables, plastic trays, and that unmistakable smell.
In my primary school, when we had school meals, we all sat around. There was about 6 of us probably sat around, and it was an octagon table or a hexagon, not sure. I mean, there was 6 of us there, but there might have been 8 sides. I can't remember. But it was actually half. It was 2 tables put together, and it made an octagon or a hexagon. Probably more likely a hexagon, thinking about it. More likely a hexagon. But yeah, they went in half. So then obviously when they're half, there was only 3 kind of sides, well, 4 sides to it, but 3 short sides and 1 long side. But yeah, you put them together, that was hexagon. My school anyway.
Smell of the school canteen. Woolies, as everyone called it, was the beating.
Wow. Wow, Woolworths. Woolies, everybody called it. Yeah, you went in there, got your toys, clothes, music. Woolies did everything. Sweet, not foods or anything. Did sweets, crisps, stuff like that. Didn't do your normal like meats, grocery foods or stuff like that. But you got your like cheaper clothes and that there. Toys, especially toys, music, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, when mobile phones and that started to come out, Woolworths would sell mobile phones and that. And some electrical stuff as well. Some had cafes in them. It depended how big the Woolworths was. But that Woolworths went out of business probably in mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s, and then just became online Woolworths. But now I don't even know if you've got an online Woolworths. But yeah, everybody loved Woolies. Everybody did. I remember it well. It was the first place I ever shoplifted from. That's where I used to shoplift from to get my drug money in Fraserburgh. But yeah, Woolies, big back memories.
Heart of the British High Street in the 80s. You could buy pick and mix sweets, cassette singles, toys, school supplies, and even socks, all under one roof. No trip to town was complete without popping in. It wasn't just a shop, it was a ritual. The smell of the pick and mix aisle alone is burned into memory, and losing Woolworths felt like the end of an era no one...
That's a proper 80s scene right there. Woolworths with a black Hackney carriage. Love it. Love it.
...was ready for. Before streaming and digital downloads, a trip to the video shop was a weekend event. Places like Blockbuster or local independents let you wander the...
Absolutely fantastic. I used to love going to the video shop. A lot of my family, older family cousins that worked in video shops and that as well. So sometimes we'd get it cheaper or sometimes free, you know what I mean, rentals. And I'd get all the old movie posters as well. Once I'd take some down and put up new ones, I'd used to get all the old movie posters for free and stick them up on my wall. Oh man, loved it, loved it.
Aisles judge movies by their covers and argue with your siblings over what to rent.
Yeah.
New releases had a waiting list, and horror sections felt off.
Now, Blockbuster, we didn't have them in Fraserburgh. Where I'm from in Scotland, we just went to the local video shops. We had Seaforth, Grampian Videos, Azad videos. Azad was a big one in Scotland, I think. Azad's. But Blockbusters, I didn't hear about it until I came down to Coventry. It's obviously an American thing, but it came over here to the UK. But like I say, where I'm from is a small fishing town. But I didn't hear of Blockbusters till I came down here in the 90s. But yeah, Blockbusters went out in the early 2000s as well. No, sorry. Just after 2010, I think. Maybe 2011, 2010. Totally went out here. But loved it. You could hire your games there as well.
Limits and thrilling. You'd rewind the tape, drop it off in the slot, and do it all again next Friday. It wasn't just about the film, it was the whole ritual.
Oh, that definitely brings back memories. You could drop it in the slot. That was probably in the shop they're talking about. But where I'm from, Fraserburgh, the Broch, if we rented a video and then you wanted to return the next day, just say it was a Sunday and the video shop was shut, you could just post it through the letterbox, put it through the letterbox, and they were fine with that. It's crazy because a lot of people used to kind of try and fish them back out of the letterboxes because they used to be quite low to the ground. That, but yeah, if they weren't open, you could just put them through the letterbox if they'd fit.
And no algorithm has ever replaced that. Share in the comments what movie did you rent over and over, even when you knew the ending by heart.
I could tell you that straight away. It was Breakdance 1 and 2, which is Breaking 1 and Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. Because in UK it got called Breakdance, the movie. In the States it was Breaking. But yeah, Breakdance 1 and 2, Breakdance, Breaking, and then Breakdance 2 Electric Boogaloo. That was ones I kept hiring. Sometimes Rockies, and a lot of Van Damme films as well. Used to always double rent them, triple rent them.
For YouTube and on-demand content, Tissoirs and Multicoloured Swap Shop were the kings of Saturday morning TV in Britain. One was chaotic, full of custard pies.
Saturday morning TV, that's Noel Edmonds. He's still on TV nowadays, and he doesn't look much different.
And water buckets. The other, more wholesome, let kids call in to trade toys and talk to their favourite stars. They weren't just shows, they were live, unpredictable experiences. You never knew what would happen next, and that made them magic. For many, they were the heartbeat of childhood weekends. In 80s Britain, few things were as oddly terrifying as public information films. Aimed at kids and adults alike, these short clips warned about dangers like playing near water, crossing the road, or talking to strangers, often with eerie music and stark narration. They stuck with you for life.
So yeah, I was just texting Vicky there. I just noticed she WhatsApp me. So I was just texting her quickly, just saying, look, I'm recording. Love you. Just in case she tries to ring while I'm recording. And then you've got the phone tone in the background. Anyway, back to it.
Charlie says, green crosscode man. And
I think I've showed you this before, guys. Charlie says, never go away with strangers. Charlie says, never cross the road when the green man's flashing. Charlie says, oh, it's love, Charlie.
That haunting film about electrical substations weren't just educational, they were burned into your
Stop, look and listen.
memory. Maybe it's the sounds, the smells, or the colours.
Or his master's voice, old HMV, where everybody got their music. Again, we didn't have them in Fraserburgh. Didn't know about HMV till I come to Coventry, down in England.
But some memories from 80s Britain never really leave you. These weren't just things, they were part of how we grew up. Laughed, learned, and connected with the world around us. Which one hit you the hardest? Or is there something we missed that still lives rent-free in your memory? Tell us in the comments, we'd love to hear your stories. And if this trip back in time made you smile, leave a like and comment to help more people rediscover the magic.
That's it for that one. Let's get the other one up. So, got one more to do. Wow, that's nearly 50 minutes for that one. It's got to be over an hour of this video. Oh well, at least it's something for you to watch this afternoon, because then I don't have to go live. But I'll be live on Flaxes, and then I'll be alive again tomorrow. But let's get the next one up. Get straight into it, innit? Why not? Why not? Why not? Let's do it. Again, just quickly, again, this is the guy's channel right here, British Time Capsule. He started it this month and has already got 4.66k. There's only 6 videos. I'm doing these 2 here. We're about to do this one here on the end. It says 10 things you'll remember if you went to school in the 80s in the UK. Just done that one. About to do this one. So let's get to it. Like I say, I'll put his link in the description. Right, let's get it. There we go.
Down, thumbs up. And suddenly you're 10 years old again, sitting in that chilly classroom.
Heads down, thumbs up. I remember that. We had to sit hold on. Yeah. We had to sit in front of a desk with our heads on the desk. Like that, so you can't see, and your thumbs up like that. So, hold on, like this, with your head on the desk. And I think someone came around and pinched your thumb. I can't remember. And you had to guess who it was. I don't know, I can't remember, but I do remember it. It rings a bell. Let's see what it says anyway.
That always smelled like chalk dust and soggy ham sandwiches. You're hoping no one steals your garbage pail Kids. You're rewinding your Walkman with a pencil, pretending you know the lyrics to every song. And yeah, that toilet paper still feels like tracing paper in your memory. If you smiled at any of that, you're in the right.
True that. Sorry I keep pausing it, guys, but true that. That was one thing about school. We either had these rolls, like normal toilet roller paper, but it was never soft. It looked like tracing paper, and it was slidey and glossy. Always recycled stuff, probably. Either that, or we had these square boxes, and you pulled them out like sheaves, tissues that you would blow your nose on. That type of idea. But they were the same kind of material, shiny, glossy, rough on your butt. Not very nice.
Place.
That's some nostalgia, that. Bog roll.
Because in this video, we're uncovering into 15 unforgettable things that made school in the
15 this time. Okay.
80s absolutely legendary. The weird, the wonderful,
Absolutely legendary.
and the wildly uncomfortable. Before TikTok dances and smartphone games, there was one true digital adventure that united an entire generation of students, and it lived on a giant, clunky, floppy disk. You'd sit in front of one of the only computers in school, praying it would load, and then it was you, a wagon, and the open trail. Hunting pixelated buffalo. Iconic. Losing a classmate to dysentery. Traumatic.
Oh, right. Okay. Was that something about... sorry, I was typing the key there. So the 3-inch floppy disk game thing. I never was into them, but I do remember people playing them. I remember reading the book, same idea in a book, like where you'd read a book, but you'd get options where to go. Right, here you come to the end of a path. Do you want to go down the dark path or down the path with the red brick? That type of thing. You got an option, and if you pick the red brick, let's say you go to page whatever, and you do that, and it was like, it's a game book type thing. Very analog. Loved it. Loved them as well, but I only did a few. So I loved the few that I did.
And yet, we kept coming back for more. For many kids in the 80s, the Oregon Trail wasn't just a game. It was the first time learning felt like fun, even if it involved starvation, broken wagon wheels, and the grim reality of 19th century America. And let's be honest, you didn't really win. You just died, slower than your friends. If you survived the bathrooms of an 80s school...
This is it. This is like the bog roll I was just talking about. The scratchy toilet paper. That's it. You can see by the looks of it. Slightly darker, kind of browny looking. Yellow. It was more yellowy brown. But yes, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but bloody awful stuff. Awful stuff. Not good at all. Horrid. Horrid, horrid.
You deserve a medal. That so-called toilet paper, closer to tracing paper than anything remotely soft.
Very much.
You'd
like
walk in, see that shiny, stiff roll, and immediately regret every decision that led you there.
didn't clean you. It slid off your butt. You had to keep. Yeah, do you know something? Be honest, what I did, and shouldn't be talking about it, but I'm not going into detail. But I used to wet it. I used to wet it. You know, otherwise it just slip. It's horrible stuff. Horrible stuff.
No one knew if it was supposed to clean, polish, or exfoliate. And somehow, schools bought it in bulk, like it was a badge of...
It's certainly exfoliated because it was cheap. That's why they bought it in bulk. It was cheap. That's the ones I was on about. You pulled out like tissue. It's a bit of an older version, but yeah, same idea. Same idea.
Honor. Ask anyone who was there. It wasn't just rough, it was emotionally scarring. But hey, character building, right? They were gross, weird, and totally banned in at least 3 classrooms. Garbage pail kids were the ultimate...
Remember them well. Never had any. I mean, I maybe got one set of stickers once. But obviously there were a parody of the Cabbage Patch Kids. But I remember them well. I remember well. Never had any, but I remember these pictures well. And I remember people collecting them. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Rebellion in sticker form, with names like Snotty Scotty and Barfin Barbara that made your parents cringe.
Is that me, Snotty Scotty?
Which of course made them even cooler. Kids would trade them like currency at recess, building collections like stock portfolios, and some even ran full-on black market sticker rings under their desks. If you had a rare one, you were instantly playground royalty. Just don't let the teacher catch you.
What he said there about running playground rings with the stickers and that, absolutely under the desk and stuff. People did it with the Panini football stickers. Panini swap their doublers. Oh, have you got a badge? Yeah, I'll give you these two stickers, this player for that badge, you know, because the badge was a shiny one, you know, a glossy one with silver, either shiny, reflective, sometimes holographic. You know, we always wanted the badges and certain players, obviously. Now, that's one thing I did collect for a little while was Panini football stickers. Never once completed a full book, though.
Confiscation was brutal and final. Before Spotify and streaming, we had the Walkman, a chunky little box that made...
Brought up the Walkman again, which it shouldn't really. I mean, you just did it the video before, but yeah. Walkman, let's zap past this one. We've already done that one. We've already done that one in the last video. Yeah, and the pencil as well, and the rock out. Yeah, let's go to the next one. There we go, mint custard. And we did this, but I didn't say about... Yeah, we said pink and chocolate, but you did get mint as well. Never tried it. Never tried it.
It looked radioactive and smelled like toothpaste, but for some reason we loved it. Green mint custard was that strange dessert served in school canteens that either made your day or ruined it. Slathered over chocolate sponge or served...
I really don't think I would have liked that one. I honestly didn't try it. I mean, I like mint chocolate. I suppose it would have been all right. But coming in a sloppy custard, no. I wouldn't have liked that.
Solo in a plastic bowl. It stood out like no other item on the tray. Some kids begged for seconds. Others stared at it like it might move on its own. But whether you devoured it or avoided it like the plague, one thing's for sure. You never forgot it. And deep down, you're still not sure if it was a dessert or a dare. No one knew why it was green, and no one dared to ask. It was the culinary equivalent of a school rumour. Strange.
It literally looks like bloody mushy peas without the peas in it. It looks like what came out of the mouth of Linda Blair in The Exorcist. It was bloody awful, didn't it?
Persistent and weirdly unforgettable.
Hundreds and thousands.
If you walked into any school hallway in the 80s,
I would have called them pop socks, but slouch socks and scrunchies. Okay, maybe it's different from pop socks, but I remember pop socks being that kind of colour. Okay.
You were met with a sea of slouch socks piled over leggings and scrunchies in every colour imaginable. It wasn't just a fashion choice, it was a full-on identity. The more socks you layered, the more style...
I mean, everybody remembers them black and red ones. Dennis the Menace ones. People will know Dennis the Menace. I mean, yeah, they pretty much made a Dennis the Menace movie in the States. So is Dennis the Menace American or is it British? Probably American. But then it's the men's colours anyway.
Stylish you were, and bonus points if your scrunchie matched your outfit. Hair was big, accessories were loud, and somehow, the more fabric you wore, the cooler you looked. You might not have had a clue what algebra was, but your sock game. Unquestionably on.
I know what algebra is. Adding, subtracting, dividing, all that with bloody letters. It's a pain in the butt, but algebra is quite easy. As long as you know which way around it goes and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't get much more advanced in algebra, but algebra is easy enough, I suppose.
Point. Whole
But math's not my best for it.
friendships were built around
Better with literature, to be honest.
swapping scrunchies. And heaven forbid,
See,
someone showed up
A
where
scrunchie for me would be you'd put in a woman's hair. A scrunchie, like a hair bubble. It's like a big scrunchy hair bubble. That's what it's called, a scrunchie. So maybe I did see a hair bubble type one there, but yeah, the ones on the legs I didn't know were called scrunchies.
wearing the exact same colour combo. That was a social emergency. It wasn't just fashion, it was survival. These weren't just school supplies, they were status symbols. With bold neon designs,
The globe had to be in there a couple of times, didn't it?
Velcro closures, and that satisfying rip when you opened them. Trapper Keepers made organising your homework feel like
Not a clue on these ones. Can't remember these at all.
gearing up for battle. Every kid wanted the coolest cover, and if yours had unicorns, race cars, or laser grids, you were winning. They were loud, flashy, and somehow always bursting at the seams with doodles, notes, and folded up paper games. If your Trapper Keeper didn't make noise when you opened it,
Trapper keeper. Trapper keeper. Trapper keeper. It rolls nice off the tongue, but still don't remember him. Trapper keeper. It sounds like something a hunter would use. A trapper keeper.
was it even real? These watches didn't just tell time.
Yes, now I can relate. Now I can relate. Calculator watch. I remember I remember having a digital watch. And then once I had a digital watch, my first digital watch, it had digital and hands. And it was a Nigel Mansell Formula One watch. Nigel Mansell was a good Formula One driver back in the 80s. Moustache and that, like a 70s born moustache. Nigel Mansell watch. But I remember before that, having just a plain digital watch, and then I seen my uncle or somebody with a digital watch, but it was red. It was red digital numbers on it. And then when calculator watches came out, I was like, yes, that's so cool. You can do calculations on it. But when you wore them and you had it, it was just a novelty for a couple of days, and then it was just a pain in the butt. You hit all the wrong buttons, or they were that small. But yeah, I can relate. Yeah, that is definitely a trip down now nostalgia lane, that one.
They made you feel like a full-on tech genius.
No,
with
they
their
didn't.
tiny buttons and built-in calculators.
No, they didn't.
Casio calculator watches
But they had noises. You could press a button, it would play a little tune. You could set an alarm. That's what was cool about them.
turned math class into your personal playground. Whether you were solving equations or just typing in boobies upside down, they gave you a strange sense.
It's weird you should say that, because when I thought of calculator and I was explaining to you about typing in and hitting the wrong keys and that, I was thinking of boobies and because you could type boobies in there with certain numbers, you turn it upside down and it says boobies. But the first one before boobies I ever learned was Shell Oil, because you type in 710.77 345, and it spells out Shell Oil if you turn it upside down. In boobies, obviously, everybody knows that one. It's 5318008. Boobies.
Of power. Wearing one meant you were ahead of the curve. It was part fashion, part
Ahead of what curve, bro? Ahead of what curve? There is no curve. Horizon, level, sea, level. Ahead of what curve, bro?
utility, and all flex. Teachers tried to ban them during tests, which only made them cooler. And deep
Oh yeah,
down, you totally imagined it
of
could
course
launch
I did. Of course, I never thought about that. Obviously, I didn't have one during tests or anything. I never thought about that, but yeah, of course it would.
rockets or hack into something important. Before
I had a stopwatch innovating on him. So cool.
smartboards and digital projectors, classrooms ran on blackboards, chalk, and sheer determination. The teachers screeching.
Chalkboards, wow. The ones that we had in primary school, I remember they had wooden frames. They were like an A-frame if you looked at them from a side profile, probably about 2 meters across, probably about 8 foot high, actually, 8 foot high. Yeah, and it was just like a rotary chalkboard. So you'd pull it down, it had a metal strip across it, you'd pull it down, you'd have a chalkboard. You pull it down, it'd have another chalkboard, maybe 3 pulls, you get maybe 3 sets sort of thing. 3 pulls, you get 3 chalkboards, or maybe just 1 pull, and 1 pull you get front and back. I can't remember. But yeah, you'd use some, get to the bottom, then you'd pull it down, use some more, pull it down, use more, sort of thing. And then you'd have your big duster to wipe it with. And then whiteboards came in with your markers and that. But chalkboards, definitely a nostalgic thing. You think about it, playing hangman on them with the teacher and that as well. But yeah, we had the rotary blackboards. Really cool thinking about it. Not cool because back then, blackboard sums and equations and school, and that's where you'd write your homework, and they tell you if you got punishment, that's what they tell you what to write 50 times. I must not talk in class. I must not eat with. I must not talk with my mouth full. In fact, I must not have my mouth full 50 times or 100 times.
Handwriting, the chalk dust floating through the air, and that one kid who couldn't resist slapping the erasers together. It was all part of the daily ritual. There was something dramatic about a teacher slamming a problem onto the board or underlining a word 3 times in a row. And if you got picked to clean the board at the end of the day, you felt like royalty, even if your hands were covered in white powder.
That is true. That's something that did happen. Thinking about it now, people did actually get chosen to clean the board. That's right. That's right. And I remember at the end of the week, it would be cleaned, it would dusted down, clap the duster against the wall outside, which was it. The duster looked like a bit like a brick, had a wooden handle, and then on the other end, it was like a hard kind of felt material, like a felt material. You wiped it down with. But at the end of the week, you get a damp cloth and go over it as well. Wow. Well, I forgot about that now. It's something I've never thought about.
The dust never really washed off, and neither did the memories. You probably still
That's why at the end of the week, we used to wet it down.
remember the exact sound of chalk breaking mid-sentence.
Yeah.
And
breaking mid-sentence and dotting, dot. Yeah, absolutely.
how half the class would flinch at once. What do you think? Would you have been the kid who cleaned the board, or the one who turned eraser duty into a chalk fight? Let me know in the comments. No safety harness, no helmet, just you, a fraying rope.
Remember this, absolutely climbing ropes. But we didn't get climbing ropes in PE, which was PE for the American guys, is physical education. PE is physical education. We didn't get climbing ropes till secondary school. Didn't do this in primary school. I mean, these kids look really young. I don't remember getting these in primary school. We had climbing frame things, big bars to climb up on, yes, and mats and gymnast like springboard and horse to jump over and stuff, but never ropes to climb up. It was not until secondary school that was. So needed a lot of strength for that.
And the crushing pressure of 20 classmates watching.
Wow, literally. That literally looks like my secondary school's gym. Literally, that's the climbing frames I was talking about, except that were there in primary school, but you got them in secondary school as well. Those frames that are beside the windows, that's exactly what I was just talking about when I was saying the climbing up frames. And then the ropes there, this was secondary school. That literally looks like our secondary school. I suppose they all look like that. I suppose they all did.
Climbing ropes in PE was either your moment of glory or a deeply humbling experience. If you made it to the top, you were a legend. If you slipped halfway,
Ha! I must have been a legend. I always got to the top. I was never a popular kid. I got bullied until I fought back. So yeah, I got to the top. I was good at PE. Brilliant at PE. That was a problem for some people.
Well, at least you tried. The rope was rough, smelled like sweat, and definitely left burns on your hands. But every kid gave it a shot, even if just to say they survived. It was
I can't remember it smelling like sweat. Just smelled ropey.
part challenge, part rite of passage, and 100% terrifying. For some, it sparked a lifelong fear of gym class. For others, it was the one time they felt like a superhero, even if just for 5 seconds. Before lunch, bags went eco and minimal. Metal lunchboxes were where
One thing I never had was a lunchbox. I always took stuff and then just a plastic bag inside my rucksack or my school satchel when I was in primary school or whatever, or my Adidas bag, just depending what year. But never had a lunchbox. Nah. I would have been uncool, even though I wasn't cool, but it was really uncool for me. You like to think yourself as cool.
it was at, and none were more iconic than the ones with strawberry shortcake. With pastel colours,
Or carried in a Tupperware box that you got from mum. Simple.
cartoon characters, and a matching plastic thermos that never quite kept anything warm,
Right.
these lunchboxes were a statement. Opening one at the cafeteria table felt like revealing treasure. You might find a PB and J, a bruised apple, maybe even a packet of
See, that's what makes me think as well that this narrator must be AI because it's a British voice and he goes on about PB&J, peanut butter and jelly. That, yes, we do that over here now and again, but in the 80s, I can't remember people doing that. It's certainly an American thing, PB&J, peanut butter and jelly, because we don't even call it jelly, we call it jam. I mean, yeah, you could say peanut butter and jam, it's still a J, but no, we didn't call that's an American thing. So that's what makes me think this narrator is definitely AI, because it's an English voice but using American expressions.
crisps if it was your lucky day. But honestly,
He used crisp there, which was a UK expression. There you go. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to. Maybe it is a real dude, and he's just trying to appeal to the Americans because they know that Americans know that crisps are chips to them. You know what I mean? I don't know.
it didn't matter what was inside. If you had a strawberry shortcake lunchbox, you were already winning. It came in a pouch, looked like shredded paper, and made every kid feel like a pro baseball player.
See, but that's American thing. Like, this is not UK. This is meant to be a UK thing. That's the American thing. We had panini stickers. We didn't have Super Bowl stuff in that.
Big League Chew wasn't just gum, it was a whole attitude. You'd stuff your cheek
I mean, it looks familiar, but I mean, I certainly don't think it's a UK thing.
like you were stepping up to the plate, even if you were just stepping into math class.
No,
The flavour hit hard and faded fast.
that's not a UK thing. Not that I remember. Maybe we might have got them here. Someone let me know in the comments if we did get them in the UK. They do look familiar, but maybe I've seen them on TV. I don't remember them here. I could be wrong. I'm 48, guys. Born 76. I don't remember them. Not like an anchor memory, but I remember them maybe through TV. I don't know. Let me know if we did get them in the UK, guys.
But that first chew was pure magic. Parents hated it, teachers rolled their eyes, and kids absolutely loved it. For a few minutes, you weren't in school, you were in the major leagues. And let's be
Nice picture. Nice picture. I mean, it's made to look old. It's probably quite a new picture, but made to look old. Oh, well, I don't know. Could be an AI picture. But it looks too, nah. Things are spelled properly and that. I don't know. It looks too good to be AI. But the haircuts make me think it might be older. But it's a good picture anyway, whatever it is. Whenever.
honest, no one actually needed that much gum at once. But the more you packed in, the cooler you felt. It wasn't about freshness. It was about flexing your bubble-blowing skills like it was a competitive sport. They were squishy, shiny, and totally irresistible. Puffy stickers covered everything. Notebooks, pencil
This
cases.
is not something oh yes, of course I remember these. Wow, is that what they're on about? Okay, wobbly eye stickers. Yeah, everybody remembers these. Yeah, I never had a big thing for them or anything like that, but yeah, my cousins, girly cousins, and that would have probably had them. Younger people probably stuck them on their mum's fridges and stuff. Stuck them on the school bag. Not me. Not me. Not that I remember. Not that I remember.
Even your friend's desk if you were feeling bold. From rainbows and unicorns to skateboards and robots, there was a sticker for every personality. Trading them was serious business, and peeling one off without ruining it, a delicate art. Some kids even had full sticker albums, treated like ancient scrolls. If you had a rare, glittery, puffy sticker, you didn't just decorate, you dominated.
I mean, I do remember people making scrapbooks and newspaper clippings, a sticker here, a sticker there, one of them puffy things with the wobbly eyes. And yeah, I mean, I suppose I tried to keep a scrapbook for a little while, but it's not something I did consistently. It's like sometimes you see like things like people keeping a diary. Something I didn't do. I mean, something I thought about doing and started doing, but just didn't do it. I mean, even tried it in prison. Started writing down every day, whenever I had a laugh, whatever. It lasted about a month, so didn't carry it on. And it only lasted a month because I was in jail. Outside, I would never have lasted 2 days. But yeah, I did try these things, but never went too far with them.
Weren't just decoration, they were social currency. Getting a new sheet felt like unlocking a new level of popularity. And if you gave someone one of your best stickers, that was basically a declaration of friendship. You didn't need to be in detention to feel like one of them.
The Breakfast Club. I don't know about the Breakfast Club impact, but everybody remembers the movie The Breakfast Club, don't they? It's not my type of movie nowadays, but back then, yeah, it was pretty cool. They all didn't know each other, didn't like each other, ended up all becoming friends and all that stuff through detention. But yeah, everybody remembers this movie. Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez. I can't remember.
The Breakfast Club wasn't just a movie, it was a mirror. Whether you were the brain, the athlete, the basket case, the princess, or the criminal, you saw yourself somewhere in that library. It played late at sleepovers, sparked deep conversations, and gave an entire...
Yeah, I won't go that far with me. I mean, I wasn't that into it. I might as well have been into Pretty in Pink as well. It was done by the same dude, I think.
generation the language to talk about who they really were. Even now, decades later, that final fist pump in the air still hits like truth. It showed us that labels didn't define us, and maybe, just maybe, we weren't as different as we thought. For a film set in one room, it opened up a whole world. Which character did you relate to most? So there you have it. 15 unforgettable things that made going to school in the 80s something truly unique.
Runa boots!
From radioactive custard to calculator watches, we didn't just grow up. We survived an era of chalk dust, cassette tapes, and questionable gym equipment. Now it's your turn. Which of these memories hit you hardest? Did we miss one that totally deserves a spot on the list? Drop it in the comments, which we'd love to hear your stories.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's it. That's it. Oh, well, excellente, excellente. That's another one done. Okay, I'll get this video downloaded and make a thumbnail for it and get it up as a premiere this afternoon. And then I'll see you in Flaxes tonight. And then I'll be live tomorrow, Tuesday. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. That was a little trip down nostalgia lane again. Excellent. I like doing things like that. Definitely. It's gets your brain thinking, oh wow, I remember where I was then. You know, even a smell can do it, take you a trip down nostalgia lane. You know, I smell a bit of music. You know, we were talking about this the other night. That's why I've been doing things like this the past few days or whatever. It's because we was talking about nostalgia and things that make you remember the past. Music, it makes you remember the past and that. So when I come across these, I was like, yeah, I've got to do them. But yeah, again, I will show you guys. It's guy's channel there. I've showed you a few times in, obviously. But again, I'll put his link in the description. British Time Capsule. Only started this month, 6 videos. Already got 4.66k. That's pretty good. Again, I mean, I was born in the 70s. Obviously don't remember much of them. 80s I remember, but it'd be nice to react to these, just to have a look at it, because obviously you've got mums and dads, they told you what it was like. You've seen television back in the 80s of stuff in the 60s. So the stuff that was on the TV was stuff from the 50s and 60s. So obviously you remember it to a certain degree, you know? So yeah, we'll have a look at that. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool. So I'll end it there, guys, and I will get this out as a premiere, and I will see yous in practice tonight, or I'll see yous tomorrow online. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy. Bless yous. Here the sunset's free. It's free. Indeed. Ta-da.